You have just clicked on this video, so you probably already know that these images were already taken on a phone. But if you just stumbled across these images in the wild, would you have guessed that these were taken on an iPhone? Personally, I would say that they look too professional and they don't have that stereotypical phone photography look or feel. I mean, even the video footage still seems like it wasn't captured on a phone, but it was. With a little help from this, the brand new 10x telephoto lens from Sandmarc, designed to up your videography and your photography skills on your phones. This lens easily allows us to capture 240mm telephoto shots with professional looking compression, subject separation, buttery smooth blur and bokeh, all naturally in the lens, with no artificial or digital blur or software trickery or AI enhancements. But let's face it, this lens is a big boy, and it is not cheap. It's costing around £300 or $300. So in today's video, we're going to find out if it's worth it and if this lens is actually any good. And for full disclosure, yes, Sandmarc did send me this lens for a review, but no money changed hands. I'm not being paid to do this. It's not a sponsorship or anything. So my opinions in this video are my own. So when we receive it, what's included? When it arrives in the box, we get this nice soft black carry case with a high quality zip that goes all the way around. Inside, the lens is also protected in this soft drawstring carry bag, and we also get this little microfiber cloth to keep the lens clean. Now we get to the main event, the 10x telephoto lens. Its entire body is made from aluminium and it feels nice and solid in our hands. And like I said, it is fairly big at about 18 centimeters long and weighs about 310 grams, which is both bigger and heavier than an iPhone Pro Max. There is a small plastic cap covering the 17mm metal thread on the bottom end of the lens, and another plastic cap that sits on the other end. And now we can see that premium multi-coated glass inside of the lens. And also here we can see that it has a large ridged focus wheel wrapping around the front half of the lens, which has a nice and firm motion to it, and it rotates about halfway with hard stops each side. This focus wheel does sit perfectly where our fingers rest naturally whilst holding the lens. And also included, we get this adapter, which just pops onto the end of the lens, and we can use this if we want to add any filters like an ND filter or a polarizer. And we also get this small carabiner clip which we can pop onto the carry case and clip it onto our belts. And I do have to admit that I've been using this carry case with the clip on my hip for pretty much all of my testing, because the lens is quite big that when we're taking pictures we don't really want to be leaving it on. So to quickly spin it off and then pop it into the bag means that this setup is very easy and convenient. We don't have to take a big backpack off and put the lens in and out of. We can then, if we see a shot, get the lens out of it super quickly, screw it on and take the picture. And also when we buy this lens, we can actually specify which phone we're going to be using it with. Sandmarc then also sends you the correct phone case, which has a threaded section over the lenses of the phone's camera, allowing us to screw this 10x telephoto lens directly onto the phone case. And I am so pleased both of these threaded sections are metal, as these small threads have to deal with a lot of stress and tension from the sheer size and weight of the lens constantly being screwed on and off. And one thing to point out in the future, if you decide to upgrade your phone, which most people probably do every couple of years, then you should just have to buy a new case or cage for that newer phone with those threaded sections over the camera's lenses. And then this lens should work on newer generations of phones. Okay, so how does it work? After attaching the lens to the case over the main camera, which is the bottom left one, we can open up our camera app of choice and make sure that the macro option isn't enabled. And if it does look weird like this, then we just have to make sure that we turn it off by pressing the yellow button here. This will now force the phone to use the main lens, which is 24mm. Then this telephoto lens optically zooms in by 10 times, meaning it changes that main camera from its 24mm up to 240mm. So we get the highest resolution image from our phone. If we just use the 24mm camera and digitally zoom into 10 times, we are losing so much resolution and detail, and the phone's software will try to compensate and adjust the image to try and sharpen it back up. Now, if you have a iPhone 15 or 16, then you will already have a 5x zoom lens. And yes, again, you could just zoom in on that lens to get the equivalent 240mm, but again, you are digitally zooming in, meaning you will be losing image resolution and quality. But that's not all. As this telephoto lens is doing all of the work optically, you're actually getting a better and more cinematic image due to the inner workings of the lens, giving you far more professional subject separation, depth of field and background bokeh, compared to the phone zoomed in equivalent. And when we look at a side by side, we can see that there is a night and day difference between the two. Even if we try to recreate it using the portrait mode in our phone, the software can sometimes struggle to cut out the subject properly, and it doesn't always give a realistic depth of field like capturing for real in camera using that telephoto lens. Okay, so now let's talk about the focus. And you might be wondering, can you use autofocus with this lens? No, there is no autofocus option. Sure, your phone has the ability to autofocus, but as soon as you put this lens on, the phone's autofocus won't work as the lens is manually focused. So we will want to hold the screen to lock the exposure and the autofocus, then we can use the focus wheel on the lens. So this does mean that we cannot just pop this lens on and point and shoot. So if you're wanting to do something like sports or wildlife photography or even filming yourself like this, then not having autofocus might be an issue for you because it's not going to be focusing on the actual moving subject. Now, pulling focus manually when you're taking photos might not be that much of an issue for you, but pulling focus whilst filming does present a slight issue, as your hands do add a slight wobble when you're touching the lens. This actually could be used to your advantage, as you do get a more natural handheld look compared to a more stabilised phone video. But as it is zoomed in to 240mm, sometimes even the steadiest of hands do make for some very shaky and headache-inducing shots. So I would probably recommend pairing this lens with a tripod to try and take out some of that handheld shake you are going to get when using this lens. And finally, as this lens is 10x, can you take macro shots? No, there is no way that you could use this lens for macro shots. They state on the website that the minimum focus distance is 5 meters or 16 foot away. I've not noticed it's that far away. I'm about 2 meters away from my camera now, about 6.5 foot. And that I would say is the closest or the minimum focus distance I can actually get with this lens. So, what is my conclusion? I would definitely say that this has not been designed for your average consumer for point and click everyday shooting. This has been designed for one specific reason, and that is to get those amazing looking telephoto lens shots with that subject separation, background blur and bokeh, the compression. All of the shots you capture on this does not seem like they were filmed or taken on an iPhone. The way it's been designed and ergonomically sits in your hand, and the ability to add filters on the front does make you feel like you're using a professional piece of kit, even though you are just using your phone. The equivalent mirrorless camera and a 240mm lens for a mirrorless camera is literally going to set you back thousands of pounds, where this is only 300. I think the main thing that might put some people off is the fact that it is manually focused. And because we're using the manual focus all the time to grab our focus, I've noticed that the depth of field is so shallow that any form of deviation in that focus, where literally by like a millimeter or a little bit of handheld wobble front and back, can really throw out the focus. So quite a few of the images which I've been capturing for this video have been a little bit soft, which is a shame. Now, like I said, if you are going to be using this lens with a tripod, that will sort of alleviate a few of those issues. Not having autofocus built into this lens does become a little bit of an issue if you're going to be using it for, say, sports photography or wildlife photography. If you're taking a picture of a bird and it's flying off of a lake coming towards you, having to constantly pull focus could be a little bit of a deal breaker. And because there is no inbuilt stabilization within this lens, the stabilization within the phone just isn't up to stabilize the footage. Any handheld video footage which I've captured, personally, I think is just far too wobbly and far too shaky. So again, it does mean that a tripod with a phone mount is pretty much needed, which is a shame because this was meant to be just a small and compact little setup that I can just put in my bag if I go traveling traveling or into a city or something, that I can capture nice telephoto 240mm shots without the need of extra equipment like a tripod. But anyway, that's enough from me today, and now I want to know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of this 10X telephoto lens from Sandmarc? If you're interested in picking one of these up, I will also link it in the description down below. If you found this video interesting and informative, a like would be really appreciated. And if you've not seen another video of mine before and you would like to, a subscribe would be really appreciated as well. And I really hope to see you here again soon.